Alright guys, I avoided talking about the Canon R because I'm not a gear review channel, and I'm so sick of all these people that are just another Me Too channel that talks about gear. There was a lot of great channels in the past that didn't. One in particular used to not talk about gear, and now he's just a gear review channel. I guess he likes free trips to Hawaii. But anyway, I want to talk about the Canon R and offer a more balanced perspective than I think you're going to get on YouTube for the most part. And that is, first, I want to premise with this. Most YouTube photographers are not working photographers. These guys are not professional photographers. They're not art educators. That's what I do for a living. I'm a professional photographer, and I've been teaching photography for 10 years. So most of these people, their job is running a YouTube channel on photography. It's really hard to have perspective of what it's like to use a camera if you're not a working professional. If you're not a working professional and you're not really relating it to a hands-on experience and a day in and day out process, then what you're really gonna end up comparing are specs. And that's why you see people dismissing what might be a great camera based on specs alone. Now, I'm not defending Canon. I just made the decision today I'm probably not getting the Canon R. I'm still shooting with the 5D3 and it gets the job done. I'll put my work up against anyone's with my 5D3. And if you guys want to take a look at my work, go to mickmillman.com. You can see my work. All of that was shot on a 5D3, or actually a 5D Mark I, because I'm not going to upgrade every camera cycle. I upgrade every other, and then I get more of a fundamental difference. Like, I get a difference in the camera that can actually show, I guess, qualitative improvements, right, in my work, where I don't think the Mark III to Mark IV would have done that. Now, I asked myself, do I think the Canon R would do that? And the reality is probably not. Probably wouldn't be a big difference. So I'm probably not going to get it. The only reason I was considering it is because a Canon R will give me, I guess, some peace of mind. I have the 5D3. I have no idea how my shutter hasn't exploded yet, but it will eventually, and I'd like to have the 5D Mark III as a backup rather than having it as my primary shooter. Now, back to the topic at hand, a more balanced approach. Forget the 4K omission, okay? Now, don't forget it if you need it. I'm not saying you don't need it. Maybe you feel you do. That's up to everyone to decide on their own. But if you need 4K, don't get the camera. If you need two card slots, don't get the camera. For me, it was like, do I really even want a camera that has, I've never had a camera or an SD card or anything fail on me. And I abuse my cards. I mean, even back when I first started shooting weddings, I would throw the cards in my pocket or in a pocket in the bag. And this is before we had redundancy, and I just abused them, and I never lost a file. Maybe I'm lucky, okay? I concede that, and so I'm not about to recommend people just get a camera without dual slots depending on the work they do. But I think otherwise, dismissing it as a garbage camera is a little ridiculous, because this is coming from people that only look at specs. What really matters is the experience of the camera, the, let's call them, quality of life improvements, those, how natural and intuitive and functional is the camera. And this camera seems to have a lot of interesting new features that have never been offered by Canon before and have never been offered by anyone before. Their function bar looks like it could be very practical. It has a lot of customization. It has it still has what Canon does best, and that's great image quality, great lens lineup that's getting better, especially with these new lenses that look amazing. You're not going to get a 28 to 70 f2 anywhere else. Dual pixel autofocus, so don't dismiss this camera. Now, if you need those features that I mentioned, don't get it. But have some perspective. Instead of acting like your ex-girlfriend is betraying you and hurting you and then like, I'm leaving, just relax, because this is only their entry level full frame mirrorless camera. By the way, I believe the original Canon M was called the Canon EOS M. That's it. They seem to do this where they enter the market with no numeric Nothing numeric, just straight up M, straight up R, and then they're going to introduce their higher end models. There will be in-body stabilization, which by the way won't matter if you have stabilized lenses already, so let's not freak out about that. If you don't do video, I'd rather personally have an f2 lens than a 2.8 with stabilization. That's me personally. I prefer to get that shallow depth of field, and then I can shoot with the higher shutter speed. The IS won't matter as much. So this camera will be excellent for a lot of people, but don't listen to all the yelling and screaming of people or the fanboys. Trust me, I'm not a fanboy. I use Canon because it works for me. I have investment in it. They would have to really, really drop the ball for me to leave, and I also have played, by the way, with the Sony a7 III, and I'm like, this isn't a good camera. It might have good specs, but I didn't think it was a good camera. I didn't think it felt good in my hands. I didn't feel like it was intuitive. That said, maybe if I played around with it for a longer amount of time, I'd get used to it. But and then I think the final point about Canon that I want to make and why I've stuck with it is that a lot of people talk about how great the Fuji is because of its tactile, controls and all that, and the reality is that's not always a good thing. And hear me out, the Canon's rear dial on the back and the shutter dial have always been perfectly placed where I can just access them with one hand so easily without readjusting my hand to the top of the camera. So ergonomics, user experience, Canon's been great. If you're frustrated, hang on, you'll get the camera you want. I would check yourself and say, why do I feel like I need to upgrade anyway? Are you not secure in your work that you can't make great images with what you have? Do you need a new camera? Why do you need to get a camera right now, today? And the last thing I promise, is price point. It's more than we all thought. We all thought it was going to be $1,900. I thought I might even auto buy it if it was $1,900. It didn't end up being $1,900. And it ended up being $2,300. And the reason I believe why is because Canon always has rebates. They pretty much have a set of rebates that last, I don't know how long, a month or two, and then they change it up and offer new rebates. The Canon M50, which I got on rebate, the Canon M50 hadn't been out long at all, and they rebated it. So you'll see that soon. They always squeeze an extra $300 out of the early adopters. When I got my Mark III, I got squeezed for the extra money. I didn't care because I waited for that camera for so long because I stuck with the Canon 5D Mark I. Alright guys, that's it for today. I know this was a bit of a long video. If you guys are enjoying these, let me know. I'll keep making them. Please like, subscribe, click the bell icon, all that stuff, and hopefully this channel will grow. I've got to go. I've got to meet with the client actually very soon, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.